Pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County Community Oversight Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We do, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We'll now go to the approval of minutes. We've reviewed the minutes. Do I have a motion to accept? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
We have approved minutes. Next on the agenda is chair remarks. I will waive my remarks for this meeting, but with that, I would like to remind everyone that the ordinance that we will talk about shortly has been filed with Metro Council, and the second reading will be Thursday, July 6th, 2023, with the third reading Tuesday, July 18th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the historic Metro Courthouse. What we also want to remind you is that we need your voice. We want to hear from you. So please feel free to come to the courthouse on July 6th and July 18th for the readings of the ordinance, which require a 2/3 vote from council. Up next is our legislative update. Attorney Yoon.
I'm going to immediately turn that over to our special counsel, Tricia Hurst.
Hello, Tricia.
Being done because of the legislation which is being forced upon us. So, it's an unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in, but we've worked, I'd say, very constructively with the parties that be to get it to a point that everybody's comfortable, and the co-sponsors seem to be comfortable. So we're hoping that we can get it through on the various reads and move from there.
All right. Any discussion from the board members? Member Brown.
It looked like we had a good number of co-sponsors. Is there any indication that there's going to be any amendment to it, or is it simply a matter of proceeding through the next two readings?
So my understanding is, the agreement that we've reached with Metro Legal and others is that the ordinance as written is something that, we don't love, but everybody can kind of hold their nose and live with. I don't anticipate any amendments except potentially one for the effective date. I think there's still some discussion about the effective date and the mayor's office and what the appointments will look like under the new regime. And so I think that's still kind of hanging out there because, there's having to be a decision made very quickly, lots of decisions made very quickly on this compressed timeline. So I'd say it's still very fluid. But given the situation that we have, my understanding is, with the exception of the effective date issue, it should be okay.
Thank you.
All right. So what we heard is that there could be an amendment just because of the effective date and.
So I think, yes, here's my understanding is because we're having to make new appointments on something that doesn't exist yet, right? It's a little bit difficult for the mayor's office or for anybody to do something when the legislation isn't really in place yet to do it, right? So you have a little bit of a chicken and an egg issue. Which one comes first? So I think we're trying to make them both go at the same time, which is a little bit harder to do. And we've got to get the mayor's office on board with that. And I think from our side, we have to decide, you know, what it is that you all want that to look like and who's wanting to stand for reappointment and, you know, what the board will look like in the future according to what it is you all want, what the public wants. So I think we have a little bit of work to do on that, and that may affect the effective date.
Yeah, I can see that just because we want to make sure that the community, their voice is all through this, right? And so we've heard from the community thus far, so making sure that through each step of the process that, you know, the community who made sure that this community oversight board exists, right? Their voice is woven within the ordinance, but also they have time and the opportunity to have their voices heard, not just at our board meetings, but at council as well. So, you know, we always encourage our community members to speak to their council members and speak to their local representatives to make sure that they understand what they want as well pertaining to the ordinance or any amendments that could potentially be if the community feels so inclined to voice that. Any other discussion?
Yes. It appears that what we're really trying to come up with a common ground where it'll meet the need of the board and the people of the community, because it affects the community the most. They voted for it. And so if we can come up with the common ground, then it will help speed the process along. You know, it was thrown up on us. And so we're just trying to make sure that everybody has some kind of common ground, has some, that it will support in this matter.
I would really encourage folks, you know, I think making sure that, you know, whoever the next mayor is and our next council to ensure that they're fully supportive of this board, whatever it's called, looking forward. I think that's going to make really the biggest difference is making sure that you've got the support of not only the community, but your leadership and your elected officials and your mayor. That's going to make a really huge difference for, you know, staffing and budgeting and, you know, really just getting the oomph behind the, whatever the new organization ends up, you know, looking like. I think that'll be very important. So I love all that.
Attorney Young?
I want to thank our special counsel. I really feel that she pulled together a lot of moving pieces here and got something done that might not have been done. So I appreciate all her hard work and continued work to get this ordinance passed within the timeline that we have. It's a very tight deadline. Related to that, we are recommending that the mayor's office reappoint the current board members for the next 7 that he can select prior to session closing, and really it has to happen concurrently with this ordinance. We don't have a target date of when it's going to finish. We think it's going to be, we hope it's going to be third reading July 18th, but it could be deferred. It could be deferred twice. To that end, we do want our current board members to speak to staff, whether it's myself or Director Fitchard or Assistant Director Kiley, to let us know if you want to continue on the board as serving as a board member. There will be 1-year terms, there will be 2-year terms, there will be 3-year terms, similar to the initial Community Oversight Board. So if you wish to continue on the board, please let us know, later. I'll send out an email. There was a little bit of siren noise, but it was not an actual emergency. It's some phone. So people, if they did hear that, there's no emergency happening right now that I'm aware of, other than what we're talking about are the urgent matters of the board. So yes, if you want to serve on the board, speak to me, speak to Director Fitchard, I'll send out some more information. If we don't hear from you, we'll assume that you do not wish to serve in the mayor's office and we're not accordingly.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Yoon. Board Member Turner?
My bad. I want to make definitely to the public that there will be a time for public discussion and public comment at these council meetings. So I urge everyone to pack out the chamber and to make your voice be heard when that time is appropriate to do that, to come and to speak out about this ordinance that is going to be passing through. And so I also challenge and charge the staff to definitely post those and those dates when there is public comment, so the community can be notified and we can continue to share so they can come out and be a part and speak to the ordinance that's going through. So.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Discussion? All right, we're moving on to our executive director's report. Director Fitchard.
Good evening. I'm just going to touch on a few things because I know we have a packed agenda tonight. So I'm going to start with, of course, the executive committee met on Wednesday, June 21st. Our next board meeting will be held Monday, July 24th at the East Regional Community Center, which is located at 600 Woodland Street from 5 to 7 p.m. We would hope that people come out to support. The complaints that we received, so we received a lot of calls from the public. We received 2 complaints since our last board meeting. We also received 41 non-complaint contact calls for service. And we had 7 dispositions issued by the MNCO since the last board meeting. There was 3 records requests for reports and body-worn cameras. There has been a reporting of delays in receiving body-worn camera video footage from MMPD. The MOU committee has not met since its last meeting in April. We've had a personnel update that we hired Ms. Katura Barnett as our new administrative service manager in June. We are happy to have her. She has really started moving forward to work with us. So thank you for being here and working with us. We've done a lot of community outreach in the month of June, and there's some research projects that are still pending. We completed the LPR informational report. There's been continued work on the sexual misconduct policy advisory report, and we completed the draft use of force report. And then I want to talk a little bit about a shooting that happened in Nashville on June 1st. So I received a call on June 1st, 2023 at 2:48 p.m. from Metro Nashville Police Department Commander Carlos Lara regarding a police shooting that occurred in the 500 block of Upshaw Street in Nashville. He stated that MMPD would be handling this case and not the TBI. Investigator Simmons arrived on the scene and was briefed about the incident by Commander Lara. I was briefed by telephone before the arrival of Investigator Simmons at the scene. And then we talked once she was on the scene as well. And this is the following account of what I was told. An unidentified black male was in a parking lot and was alleged to have burglarized motor vehicles. 2 MMPD officers were in the vicinity and responded to the area. Upon their arrival, they called out to the unidentified male and a chase started. It was stated that during the chase, the unidentified male shot at the officer and the officer returned fire. At some point during the shooting, the officer was wounded by gunfire and was able to walk to a waiting police vehicle, and he was driven to Vanderbilt Medical Center. The unidentified male was struck multiple times and fell in a grassy area where he was left for a time unattended. The briefing stated at a later time frame, the unidentified male shot at a SWAT SRT officer, and that officer fired multiple times, striking the unidentified male as he lay in the grassy area. Officers rendered first aid at some point, and afterwards, the male was taken to Vanderbilt Hospital for assistance. We were able to view a small portion of the body-worn camera video at police headquarters. Shortly after leaving MMPD's headquarters, I was notified by Commander Lara that the unidentified male had died while at the Vanderbilt Medical Center. At some point in the messaging from MMPD, it was stated that the SWAT SRT officer perceived that the unidentified male who was lying in the grassy area shot at him before he fired back, striking him. The unidentified male was determined to be Mr. Delama Casimir, who recently moved to Nashville from Pompano Beach, Florida. on Friday, June 2nd, 2023, an MNCO investigator made a records request to MMPD for all related reports and video related to the shooting. There was an unusually long wait. We don't usually have to wait that long to get the videos. It took approximately 10 days to get it, so I had to call back and make an expedited request for that video, and we finally received that footage on June 12th. And we're still waiting for additional records related to our initial request. And that ends my executive director's report. I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Member Turner.
Yes, the executive director, what was the time frame from when the unidentified male was laying there, well, unattended? Was there a time frame that he was not tended to?
Yeah, because the case is open right now and we're working on it, I don't feel comfortable talking about timeframes right now.
Gotcha. And so I want to make sure I read this clearly, that he was lying there and he was shot again. While he was shot once, multiple times, and he was shot again while he was laying on the ground. I just want to make sure that I read
Right.
that.
So there's a shooting that happens initially where there's an officer that's shot as well, and there's an exchange of gunfire, is what we were told. He is shot, he's laying in the grass. The officer is able to get back to a vehicle and get to the hospital. At the time, Mr. Casimir is there lying in the grass. We don't know exactly where, at that point, officers are kind of scrambling around and not there. At some point, SWAT is there, and then you see, which is what they released publicly, where there's an alleged shot from Mr. Casimir that they later said it was a perceived shot, and Mr. Casimir is shot multiple times at that point.
Okay. So just for clarity's sake, and so everybody can understand, when we read perceived, that means that it could have been a shot or it may not have been a shot. It was perceived, right? I mean,
It was just a perception.
okay. So we don't have any indication that it was an actual shot from Mr. Casimir. Okay. Any additional questions? Comments?
So far, what I gathered, there's a gray area of exactly what took place there. And this is something that we should be careful how we investigate that and how we receive the concrete evidence on that. And I was given a phone call from a citizen of the incident. I never commented or anything, but hearing this tonight, it led to me that's a gray area there, and we need to be careful and conduct the investigation to the best of our ability.
Yes, sir. We have received body-worn camera video footage. We are still investigating and, of course, have lots of questions regarding this particular case.
All right. Thank you. Going back to the 10 days that it
Madam
took
Chair,
to...
sorry, can I speak for a little bit?
You can
Sorry,
speak.
apologies. Just want to give a comment. I know that this is still a pending investigation, but I just feel that it's important to also say that no matter what sort of circumstance that it is terrible to have lost, someone that's lost their life in the city on that day. So I think particularly in the full context of how we have had to navigate certain things politically, just as a board and as an organization, it does feel it was a little weird, but we are still in that gray area. But I do want to affirm to not only the person who has passed, but then also their family as well, that it is a tragic loss of life, and that no matter what, that should be honored and recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Spencer. Pertaining to the 10 days that it took for you all to receive, or for us to receive the body-worn footage, did we have any indication why there was a lag time?
No. I asked for them like we normally do, and we were told that they would be loaded up when we watched it that night, as we normally get them within a 48-hour turnaround. And then I asked again, I didn't receive them. At that point, the family had come up from Florida and had a lot of questions. Also, there was some allegations that I wasn't familiar with, so I wanted to really get involved in the video so that we could look at it to either substantiate or not, some of the claims that we were hearing. And so I was a little perplexed by we didn't get the video and we weren't getting any information on why what the holdup was. There was a lot of video, just for the, sake of, transparency. There was multiple officers out there. Anytime an officer is shot, it is, there's going to be flooded with officers. But, the information that we saw when we first saw it at headquarters was such a small piece, that it couldn't really give me any type of, clear, story of what happened, right? And so as the officer is showing it to us, it's just a very small clip, basically the same clip they released publicly. That's not enough for me to make any type of, be able to see anything that makes any type of determination, of course, that in that quick, small, less 20-second video clip. So we finally, after I had to call multiple times to get the video, it was finally dropped in our box. But there was no real clear explanation on why it took 10 days to get that.
Okay, thank you. Member Goddard and then Member Turner.
Yeah, I don't have any factual information about this information request, but this general subject came up in the last negotiated meeting with MNPD on the MOU, a lot of which has to do with records. And something that was positive, I'm interested in how it played out in this one. Assistant Chief Hagar and Gilchrist, is that the other one? Gilder, rather, said, look, in terms of us getting you copies of body-worn camera, cars with a body-worn camera, we've got to go through the full redaction process and pixelate juveniles and just all sorts of things that could happen. But you guys are welcome anytime to come over, schedule an appointment. We can fix it within a day or so and look at as much unredacted video as you want. And they said that actually would be helpful to them as well, because in a multiple officer situation like this, there are hours and hours of video that if we just ask for copies, they've got to go through that whole redaction process. But if we can come over, and we mean the staff, not me, can come over and look at the unredacted videos right away, it may help both the police department and the oversight board staff figure out which hours of video are most important and get those sooner, or maybe pare stuff back. And Deputy Chief Hagar has several times said, if you have any delay in getting records you need, call me. So I don't know. We got a lot of stuff going on. We'll get into what all we're trying to do with complaints and PRRs and all that. So I'm not trying to suggest how that should have happened with the staff in this position, but there are abilities we have to go and look at videos very early in the process and try to drive that forward. Dave, you may know more about that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly right. And we have gone to see videos in that system once or twice at this point. It's worked really well. I would say just with this one, with the volume of video and also with shootings in general, I think we watch them in a very different way than certain other things, and so it's very time consuming. I mean, I can slow the thing down to frame by frame and all that, and it's. I don't really like to do that in the police department, right? It's nicer to be able to do that and take notes and everything, but there may be parts of it that we can't.
Yeah, and some of it could be a both and. It's not an either or.
Oh,
you
yeah.
see stuff in a hurry if you need it first day,
Yeah.
and then definitely get all you need and look at it frame by frame later.
And that early access too is still helpful, because that does, like you said, identify, do we need every officer's video, or do we just need those three, and the time frames and everything. So yes, thank you.
All right. Member Turner.
Yes, thank you. My question was, why isn't TBI, or what was the reason why that the MNPD said the TBI will not be investigating this particular incident? Because I don't feel comfortable in the police themselves on this particular case.
Yeah, that's a good question. We I was supposed to contact General Funk about that, and so I've got to follow up with him about that. But we were told, one, I think he was out of town, and so I don't have a clear answer for you regarding that at this point, but I'm going to get it for you. Do you have anything to add to that? Not really.
I think we're still waiting on a sort of a formal response from the DA's office.
But what we do know is that it's stated in the MOU between the Metro Police Department, TBI, and the District Attorney's Office that any officer involved shooting, any time an officer discharges his weapon, that TBI would investigate. Is that what the MOU states?
Yes.
It does state that.
Okay. Member Woodson?
I'm just curious, and maybe this is something that's good for the public to know as well. With the 10 days, typically when you all get video footage, is it all at once, or can there be some that come, or does some come later? How does that work exactly?
It can come in waves, especially when something like this, in this particular incident, there are a fairly large number of officers involved, and so I think it's worth saying that we do appreciate that they identified some of the main ones and got those to us quickly. That is appreciated. But yeah, when there's multiple cameras and that many officers, I mean, I usually expect it to come in bunches where they'll get us, here's 3 or 4 officers and the next will come next week and so on, which is better, gets us something faster.
And then once you review those, of course,
Right.
you may have to request others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional comments or discussion? All right, seeing none, we are going to change the agenda around just a little bit. We're going to go to our proposed resolution report, after which we will have public comment. Director Richard.
Okay, I'm going to be discussing MNCO CC 2023-004. The allegations of misconduct against Officer 1 are discourtesy, discrimination, obstruction of rights, deficient performance of duties, honesty, and truthfulness. Against Officer 2, discourtesy, discrimination, obstruction of rights, and deficient performance of duties. The summary of the complaint, and this is the allegation, on January the 18th, the complainant submitted a complaint to the Metro Nashville Community Oversight Office alleging that on January the 8th, 2023, 2 employees with the Metro Nashville Police Department arrived due to an argument between the complainant and the complainant's neighbor. The complainant alleged that Officer 1 and Officer 2 got out of their cars in a rage and began yelling at the complainant, who is a black woman, and the complainant's family members as they were a danger to the white neighbor without asking what was going on. The complainant said, "I do feel like Officer 1 and Officer 2 both are racist." The complainant had requested that Officer 1 press charges against the neighbor, but Officer 1 told her she couldn't. The complainant alleged that Officer 1 stated that the complainant was wearing a black bonnet when in fact it was a hijab. Finally, the complainant alleged that Officer 1 made a false statement by only including the neighbor's version of events in Officer 1's reports and not including the complainant's version of events. So the findings of fact is that the officers on January the 8th received a call at 1:10 p.m. And it was in regard to a verbal dispute between a complainant and the neighbor. At approximately 2:13, the officers arrived. At the time of their arrival, the complainant was standing on the sidewalk in front of her residence with her sister and 3 children. The neighbor was standing beside the driver's side door of the vehicle. If the neighbor's vehicle between the neighbor and the complainant's approximately 20 feet away. From review of the body-worn camera of Officer 1, Officer 1 was observed stepping outside the patrol car and going toward the complainant and her family members saying, all right, I need you guys to walk away, stop yelling, you can tell me what's going on. After Officer 1 spoke, she held out her right hand in front of her, pointing and gesturing toward the complainant and the 4 family members standing near the complainant. As the complainant and her family walked away, Officer 1 toward the complainant's residence. The complainant is heard saying, "Police out here because, baby, I see there's going to be some racist SHIT because that's what y'all do. Come on, my kids. They racist always. Come on. Take y'all black Muslim selves to the house because that's what we is, and they always." And so there's this talk going back and forth. So Officer 1 is observed turning to point and gesture at the neighbor and say, "Hey, you don't need to talk either." So Officer 1 is actually talking to both, the complainant and the neighbor, because they're still kind of going back and forth. During Officer 1's interview with the MNCO investigator, Officer 1 said, "Upon our arrival, we heard yelling and saw a crowd. I hopped out of my car. I believe I honked my air horn and separated the two parties that were arguing." And these are neighbors. They live in sort of like a duplex thing, but there is some space between their front doors. During her interview, Officer 1 said that day specifically, she said that the neighbor hit the siding and threatened to hit her daughter. That was an allegation. When asked why she did not charge the neighbor with threatening to hit the complainant's daughter, an officer stated that the complainant said the neighbor threatened the daughter, but the neighbor said the complainant threatened to have her daughter hit the neighbor. So it was just one word against the other. So one is saying, you threatened my daughter. And then the other neighbor is saying, well, she had her daughter. She told me that she was going to use her daughter to hit me. So there's a lot of back and forth with that. During the review of the body-worn camera footage, Officer 1 is observed telling Officer 2, "Document both sides. I can't tell who's at fault." And now I'm going to skip down to the discussion and analysis. One part, the MNCO will receive multiple short video segments from the complainant's personal camera, but little of the audio was able to be heard, and what was recorded did not confirm or deny the existence of any of the violations alleged. So the discussion is the complainant alleged that Officer 1 and Officer 2 were in a rage and began yelling at the complainant and the family members of the complainant. And although Officer 1 approached the complainant and spoke to her first and the neighbor second, both officers appeared to speak and behave appropriately throughout the encounter. During the MNCO interview, Officer 1 specifically denied that she behaved in any way discriminatory toward the complainant or anyone else. While the phrase "mind your own business" may be considered discourteous, Officer 1 is recorded stating more or less the same statement to both the complainant and neighbor, so it did not appear to be discriminatory. The complainant requested that Officer 1 press charges against the neighbor, but Officer 1 told her she couldn't. And during the review of the body-worn camera footage, the complainant alleged that the neighbor threatened to punch the complainant's minor daughter in the mouth. When confronted with this accusation, the neighbor denied doing that. The neighbor also alleged that the complainant had threatened the neighbor. When asked during the interview, Officer 1 stated that due to the lack of corroborating evidence, they could not prosecute against either person. In the MMPD incident report, Officer 1 wrote, "Due to the conflicting statements and lack of evidence and lack of unbiased witnesses, PD could not determine the primary aggressor." The complainant alleged that Officer 1 had incorrectly identified the complainant's hijab as a bonnet, which the MNCO investigated as an additional discrimination allegation and deficient performance of duties. During the MNCO interview, Officer 1 denied referencing the complainant's hijab as a bonnet. After the MNCO's review of the body-worn camera footage and ECC report, it appeared that the neighbor is the one who described the complainant as wearing a black bonnet to the 911 dispatcher, which was entered into the CAD report by ECC. Officer 1 did not complete an incident report, but she did not reference either a bonnet or hijab at any point. And so finally, the complainant alleged that Officer 1 made a false statement by only including the neighbor's version of events in the report. The report, a portion of the narrative states, the complainant stated that she has an ongoing issue with her neighbor. The complainant confirmed that the leasing office is aware of the situation and she has emailed the office multiple complaints. The complainant stated that she was on the phone outside on her porch when her neighbor walked by and hit the siding and began making threats. When asked to clarify these threats, the complainant stated that her neighbor said she was going to punch her daughter in the face. When asked why her daughter was outside, the complainant confirmed that her daughter never hears her raise her voice, and she came outside to see what was going on. The complainant stated that the neighbor and her boyfriend fight all the time, make too much noise, causing problems The complainant stated several times that her son cannot function in an environment that her neighbors have created. The complainant's daughter came to the door per her mother's request, confirmed that the neighbor threatened to punch her in the face. And so mediation was offered and declined. This was really a neighbor dispute. By the preponderance, and so the conclusion is, by the preponderance of the evidence review, the executive director concludes that all allegations against both officers are not sustained and that there is no recommended action. I'll take any questions.
Member Brown? You was just looking for your paddle. Okay.
I think this does show the importance of fighting on camera, because otherwise you would have no impartial record of what occurred, and so, it's one of those things that I'm sure police officers dread, is coming up on a neighborhood dispute and everybody shouting, and it sounds like from what's on the actual camera, which are pretty reliable, I think, that the director's report is accurate and should be approved. So I would, absent further discussion, I would recommend approval.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. It's been accepted.
Madam Chair. As I mentioned to you earlier, I have some comments on the PRR process. I was planning on bringing those up under new business at the end of the meeting, but I'm happy to do it now if that would be your preference.
So please.
Go ahead.
At your pleasure.
All right. This will take a few minutes, but I think it's important. I have some things I want to say about how we've handled PRRs. These are resolution reports of complaints over the last 2 years, but first I want to note this. While my comments will mostly be about things past, I am offering them looking forward. I know we cannot change the past. I know we cannot, by resolution, increase the number of PRRs under the current situation. But I believe Metro Council will very soon reconstitute this board, and I will end my remarks not with a resolution or other comment or attempted direction of how the staff proceeds with the pending complaints, but rather with a statement and fervent hope of how the reconstituted board will address and respond to citizen complaints going forward. Now to my comments. There are very many legal maxims, and not all are in Latin. One of the most true and sadly most frequently occurring is this: justice delayed is justice denied. Over 2 years ago, Judge Brown, in one of his first board meetings, noted the delay in investigating citizen complaints and how few were being presented to the board. While I'm not sure he used the words I just quoted, he was describing a delay in justice to those who brought complaints to the Oversight Board, and that this resulted in denying them justice. Over the past 2 years, I and numerous board members have many times made complaints about the process, both the speed of resolving complaints and how many, or few rather, are being brought to the board. Over those past 2 years, the average was just 1.5 resolution reports per meeting. Over the past 12 months, it's actually slightly fewer at 1.4. At the last meeting, this board, by unanimous resolution, directed the staff to present a minimum of 3 resolution reports to each meeting, and that number was not met. I know that Assistant Executive Director Dave Kiley is in charge of that task group, and I talked to him at length about this. I am firmly convinced that it is not for lack of effort, but is rather a fairly damning comment on, my word not his, the mess the process is in right now. It is not lack of effort. I want to be clear on that. I'm fully aware of human frailty. I'm actually aware of some of my own, probably not all of them. But in my opinion, this was a far cry from a job well done. I'm not trying to compare us to some perfection standard, just to a reasonable standard. Speaking only as one board member, I would like to apologize for the delay to the many citizens who believe they were victims of police violence, brought complaints, police misconduct rather, brought those complaints to this board, and in good faith expected this board to proceed promptly and timely with the resolution of those complaints. In too many cases, the justice they sought was denied by delay. This includes those who had over a year to wait and longer in many cases before a resolution report was presented to this board. This includes those that have been pending for over a year and have yet to have a resolution report presented to this board. This includes the many who had a resolution report presented to this board, but only after the civil service process had completed, which meant that any action this board took, if it found a police misconduct, if it recommended the chief consequence for that, it could have no legal effect. The chief would be legally barred from doing anything once the civil process had finished. There have been numerous cases of that. And we are now resolving a number of these. A number of those are resolved when the complainant declines to proceed. And my comments also address those who, either in whole or in part, are declining to proceed because they have waited so long without having any action on their complaint. To all of you, I apologize. We have failed you, and it pains me grievously. I don't believe there's much this board can now do to accelerate or make better this process for the limited time this board has left. I believe the staff, including the executive director, the assistant executive director, will do the best they can to process and process well as many as they can. But there will be a board following this board. And I ask that that board please investigate citizen complaints promptly and make that a priority. Make that the priority for the board. Please scrutinize the current investigation process and policies for PRRs and issues that we now know there are in place with that. Carefully review those and modify them to be able to accomplish more swift justice. And please develop reporting and accountability requirements that will be sufficient to ensure that the new board never finds itself in the position this board is now. Or more simply stated, please do whatever it takes to ensure as often as possible that citizen complaints to the board are met with justice and not effectively denied by delay. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any comments or discussion?
Yes, I agree with most of what you said, but for us being a failure, I disagree with you on that. Nothing beat a failure but a try. And my experience of being on the board from the day one has shown that we have worked to the best of our ability with what we have. Give us what we need, and you will see success.
All right. Thank you, Member Holloway. Member Spencer?
Thank both of y'all for your comments. And I think the only piece that I would like to add is that we are a part of a larger body in our own right. And I think for all of our efforts, even though internally we may not have met certain marks that we want to, that I think that we are all trying our hardest. I think there are places where we can continue to have our growing edges. No one and nothing is perfect. However, I will always kind of default, maybe not, that's not particularly the best word, but kind of center a lot of this kind of conversation around where our powers lie and where our support comes from and who helps maintain this foundation that is not inside this room. And that is the larger political body of this government that we sit underneath and as a part of. And so I think the words that you've really spoken to, they really resonate with me. And I thank you for speaking them to the public and making those feelings known, because I think that is something that we as a body should always be striving to make sure that the public knows that we do care, that we are fighting, that we are trying to make sure that justice in this version is still achieved for people. And I also do want to just add on into what you said, that with that comes the respect, the time, energy, and effort from people that have the local power here. People in different seats of this government that have the power to be able to make different processes and structures as easy for us as a body or as hard for us as a body as they want. And so I think for moving forward, to always have what you've been talking about in mind, to always be thinking about ways that we can become more efficient, to to be more dedicated to the values of what this organization was supposed to be for, what we were founded on, what people mobilized to, and organized to create this board for. And I think that same energy, as we continue to have that same energy internally, I think always we have to couple that energy with looking at those outside of this room, the politicians, people in power that are able to use whatever political machinations that they decide they want to help us or hinder us. And I think for everyone, that is something that we all have to understand. I think that's what we all have to hold not just ourselves to the fire for, but everybody else, especially everybody that's running on campaign season right now. I think everybody that's doing anything and trying to run for any sort of office that has any sort of power with what the processes and structure of this body do, we have to hold them to the fire about that as well. And so I just really want to make sure that that's also put into the record as well. And again, thank you both for your comments. I do really appreciate it.
Thank you, Member Spencer. Member McCree.
Board Member Goddard, thank you. And I say thank you, like on behalf of me and so many other community members, because I remember there have been multiple occasions where I have gone home heartbroken because members of the community who faced some type of grievance came here because it was either their last resort or their only place to be heard. And we were not in a position to help, right? Not necessarily because we didn't want to, but because process and bureaucracy got in the way of that. And so as we have limited time to operate in this space, and who knows what the next phase of this board will look like, I want to keep in mind that there has to be space for community to be heard. There has to be space for misconduct to be remedied. And if this new board does not create space for that, then it's useless. It is not what citizens ask for. It's not what voters ask for. And so to what you said, Board Member Spencer, anybody who is to hold the next office of the mayor or to be reelected or elected for the first time in the seats of council, you have a moral obligation to the voters of the city to make sure that this board or whatever comes after this has as much authority as it possibly can, and that community voice stays a part of that process.
Thank you, Member McCree. All right, Ms. Beard.
I am the most recent board member on this board, and I have to reiterate some of the comments made by Board Member Goddard. I think in the last meeting, I expressed concern about the number of days it was taking to conduct investigations, and also the number of days in which the cases were being investigated. And some of them have been for hundreds of days that a resolution has not been brought to those cases. I am a lawyer as well, and there is true that, justice delayed is justice denied. In the law, there are many rules regarding statutes of limitations, rules in which certain actions can be filed. The law is very time-driven. And what I would offer, for the many experience I have done, I have worked for the two largest corporations in the state of Tennessee. I have assisted them with investigations, with developing processes, both internationally and domestically. I would offer to whatever this board looks like going forward, my expertise in investigative matters, in conducting investigation, timelines, follow-up, I read the reports for the meeting today, and I was very concerned about the number of days. And I don't know, as a new member of the board, why these delays were caused. But what I am willing to do is offer my assistance in helping the board go forward and getting a better resolution time for these complaints.
Thank you. Member Turner.
So I appreciate all the comments, and to Mr. Goddard for raising the awareness around the time frame of the complaints. And we hear that quote of justice delayed, justice denied, but we got to really ask the question. The root of it is why things are being delayed, and I want to, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that it's not from a lack of trying or that we didn't want it to move swiftly. I don't think the staff and the leadership, that was not their position or motive to slow down. But I think we got to understand from day one, before this even got voted into, before the board got voted into, we were met with resistance from those that we were trying to hold accountable. Monies that was flown. There are, politicians that are involved. I think we heard all of that. And so I think the delay, that the community needs to understand, the delay was not, in my opinion, not a lack of trying or putting the best effort. It's just they are obstacles that this board has faced from day one. Day one on getting this on us on the petition to even get voted. And so all those things that people who voted against. Yes, it's overwhelming, over 100,000 that voted for, but there are those who voted against, and there are powers that be that are causing this delay, that are not making it easy. In a perfect world, we would have a full cooperating chief who I would say would be transparent, will be swift in giving information, will be swift in allowing an investigation to go forward. We just heard today, even a shooting earlier this month we're not going to allow TBI to investigate. So those things are just showing that there are other people, other forces that causes delay. And so I end with this again to the community. In these forums of the mayor and council, this election that's coming forth, as we move forward, and we don't know what, and we hope that this ordinance will move forward as well. But that rests in the mayor's hands, who the next mayor will be. That rests in the council. And so those are the questions that must be asked. Where's your position? And I've not even heard it yet from a lot of forums. Where's your position? What will your position be concerning the COB? And I've not heard that a lot. So I urge the community again, on these forums, you ask those tough questions to those who want to be the next mayor, to those who want to be the next city council from whatever district and at large. So again, I just want to say that we got to do some investigation on and be very honest about why is there a delay. And I think there are other forces involved that's causing the delay. I want to say that is that, again, we got some forces that are pushing against to cause this delay. So these games that are being played between the MMPD and the board, making decisions before we even get, to even talk about the complaints. So, let's be real and honest. But I think communities understand that there are other forces that being in play. If they have to voice those tough questions in this next election and these forums coming up.
All right. I do appreciate, Member Goddard, your comments, and I reiterate our last board meeting when we voted for at least 3 PRRs per meeting. and that being expressed to the staff, understood that very clearly, I'm sure. With the recent, because I asked that question, you know, where are the three? And 2 cases were withdrawn. And that is what I understood. And so, Member Goddard, you did bring that up about, you know, cases being withdrawn, and it could potentially be an issue of justice delayed, is justice denied. But when someone withdraws a complaint regarding misconduct of the police, that could be a very personal reason. So whatever that is, you know, if it is too painful to go through this process, or for whatever reason, I don't think we can put our finger on why and point in the direction of justice delayed is justice denied. Because for people who have been at the hands of police misconduct, a lot of these communities understand better than anybody justice delayed is justice denied. And the Community Oversight Board has been a reprieve. It has been a mechanism for people to voice their opinions where they would not otherwise be heard or paid attention to, or even had a platform to talk about the misconduct of a police department, or even being over-policed in the communities that they live. So I only say that because we have the process that we have, and we intend, I'm sure, to get better at whatever that process is. If it is today, if it is tomorrow, if it is when we are reconstituted, whatever that is. But I know one thing, the process is happening in real time, and it's happening at a fast pace, because justice delayed is justice denied is what's happening at the state capitol, as they are attempting to abolish the Community Oversight Board, so no one will be able to find justice when we're talking about oversight of the police department or issues of police misconduct, especially if we're asking the police to police themselves with the abolishment of the COB. So as we're looking at, and thank you for even bringing that up, because as we look at how we reconstitute and how we receive complaints and what that actually looks like, I know we'll take that into consideration, right? Because it may just be my opinion, but anytime there's opposition, the way we faced opposition for this Community Oversight Board, I can guarantee you that we may have an uptick in complaints, in calls, in issues of misconduct. So not only will we have to be stronger, will we have to be faster, will we have to make sure that these complaints are being heard by the board in a more timely manner. I think we have a lot of processes that we will probably need to take into consideration and put into place as we go forth in the face of opposition, as my fellow board members have expressed.
Can I jump in there too?
We both have something to say.
Oh, y'all want something to do?
Since
Thank you.
on the receiving end of so much of this, I wanted to point out a couple of things. One is that and I'm saying this mostly for the public, not that I'm not worried about y'all's opinion, but I'm saying this mostly for the public, is that we take the backlog extremely seriously. We take the slowness that the board has historically taken to finish reports very, very seriously. I got here in January and inherited quite a large backlog of cases. We are working on system and process improvements to improve that into the future, including right now. We have already started identifying the higher and lower priority cases to close out. And I especially wanted to go to what Board Member Beard said. I hope that you got the second updated case status list, because okay. I think that if you compare that to previous ones, there is a lot more information there, a lot more dense information, a lot more timely information about what the status of the cases are, where they are in the process. We've also started in putting in internal deadlines. You know, I think it is worth saying, and it's not, I am very happy to have your advice on other improvements we can make. I do want to point out, though, because I hear this a lot, this isn't a corporation. This is a government office. We have limited staff. We have limited resources. And especially over the last couple of months, while we have, I think, made significant progress clearing out some of these cases that have been effectively sitting on a shelf, we've also been pulled in multiple different directions. And so I want to say that because I want to acknowledge that my staff takes this very seriously. Our investigators take it very seriously, and they work very hard. And going to what Board Member Turner was saying, there are things that other offices in this city could do to make this go faster. We could have better access to records. We don't. But we are working on internal process improvements to streamline that. We're also working on internal training curriculum, which I was hoping to have done in February, but then all this nonsense happened with the legislature. So everyone's points I want to say are really well taken. I just want to express that we feel the same way. People are working as hard as we can. That's all.
Are you?
I just want to acknowledge, and I wanted to say thank you, because I also hear an overwhelming and underlying consistent message from each of you, a centrality of the community and the complaint process and wanting to see it do better. And I just want to point out that this is one of the things that I'm most urgent about wanting to see protected as we move forward, that we have a board that is representative of the community more so than many other institutions in metro government. And I think that's been reflected in the conversation. As much as there might be critique here, and I listen to that with a lot of humility, I think we could do better, and I hope we do better in the future. But I also just want to express sincere appreciation for the centrality of the community and the complaint process. And that, I believe, is directly reflective of the diversity that we have on our board that fewer commissions and boards have at the present moment, and that we think in this present ordinance that we proposed will be protected.
Okay. Member McCree. Jill, did you need to?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple things
Okay.
real quick. You know, as I listened to what everyone had to say, I did appreciate hearing that. I will say that I've been here for the last 4 years since it began. And I get really emotional because it is us that is looking at every single case. I have spent 4 years carrying the brunt of disrespect from this government, from having very little support from an administration, two administrations that came in as we work with 2 chiefs of police to try to figure out how to do this work without a blueprint, without any help from anyone, not even sometimes from board members. I know that they were committed, but you all have jobs. You know, we're doing this daily and trying to figure this out, and we did it. I'm very proud of the work that we've done. And so justice delayed is at times justice denied. I take offense to say that we took our time, intentionally or not, working on cases. Every single person that has come to our office, I felt their pain. I talked to them, I sat down with them, I listened to them, and I expressed what we could do for them. We had lots of turnover. This is not easy work. Justice work is not easy work. And so what I'll say to this community, the community that I love, the community that I'm in regularly, that I would never, myself or staff, deliberately delay any type of work that would, any complaint process, any investigation. And until you walk in these shoes and do this justice work the way that I've been doing it, you won't understand the heaviness that I've carried on my shoulders. day in and day out, very little time off, sacrifices to not only myself, my health, my personal life. And so that's all I have to say. I do thank this community for supporting us through this process. I think that we should be looking towards this state house who is trying to change what we do and not focus on there are things that we can do better. Absolutely. I appreciate Ms. Beard saying that she's going to help. I appreciate all of you who have helped. But let's focus on where this attack is coming from, and we shouldn't have it internally here. And I think that there are times that we can have these conversations, but to have conversations in the midst of what's happening, and to say that we as a staff, having given 100%, I think is just, it's challenging for us to hear that. So, but thank you.
Thank you, Director Fisher. Member McCree.
Thank you. I want to make a clarifying statement, and I'll speak for myself. Other board members, feel free to chime in where you may. My statement was aimed at the bottleneck of process, not necessarily done by staff. It was not a critique of staff. It was a critique of process. We've known that this board has been severely underfunded, under-resourced, and there are reasons for that. We had a city council at the founding of this board who could not decide whether or not they would support us, which is why it went to ballot referendum. We had a mayor who did not fully support this board. In budget season, when it came around, never fully funded the operations of the staff. And so the critique is to the larger process, not necessarily to the staff. I want you all to know that I appreciate the work that you do. And you need to hear that. This is very hard work. And so as we move forward, those same questions still remain. Do we have a city council? Will we have a city council who will stand with you as you continue to be staff, which is the hope? Do we have a mayor who will stand with you as you continue to take on this difficult work, right? Those questions are in support of the work that you do, not a critique of it.
Board Member Witzel.
I know we need to move forward. I just want to say I see you, Director Fitchett, and the staff. And I appreciate this conversation, and I appreciate that that there are so many people here from the community here because the passion and the emotion and the concern in this room is. I mean, we've had meetings where there was hardly anybody here, so I'm glad that people can see that for transparency's sake, how strongly we all feel about the work that we do, and just stress the importance of the community continuing to support us and coming out to these meetings. So I just want to thank you all for being here and ask that you continue to support us in this work.
All right. Member Brown.
Well, when I came on the board some 2.5 years ago, I think about the second meeting, I raised the issue of the long delays and made a motion, and we had a proposal that we would have 6-month reports of those cases that were not handled in 6 months. And I note the one we did today was done in less than 6 months. And so we've made a lot of progress, but the 6-month report itself that we were getting, quite frankly, 2 months ago, I went through it and pointed out to the staff that, frankly, there was just a lot of misinformation in it and that it was totally out of date, and it's been substantially improved. And there's a lot of reasons why cases have been delayed. There's plenty of blame to go around, but part of it has to come back to us. There are complaints to us, and we're responsible for getting out the PRRs, and frankly, we could have done better. And part of it clearly is we've had staffing problems, we've had budget problems. We had a chief of police prior to the current chief that was adamantly opposed to the board and probably did if there was a roadblock he missed, he certainly didn't intend to. And so there's a lot of things that go into it, but going back to sort of my military views and stuff, the responsibility for getting PRRs out in the end lies with the board. We can come up with a lot of excuses, but the problem still does with us. And moving forward, for our limited time we've got left, this time we had 3 proposed and 2 of them were withdrawn for good reason. But, we need to be able to identify those that are going to be withdrawn much earlier. And we need to go ahead and prepare. And if we only prepare 3, anything that does means we're going to not have 3. So we need to prepare more to get them out. If we can get more in, fine. If those are going to be closed, I noticed in the 6-month report, there's several indicate they're going to be closed. Well, let's close them and let's get as many of them as out as we can. And going forward with the board, it looks like it will be reconstituted. Going forward, hopefully the budget has been passed for the board, and with its reduced jurisdiction, surely that budget's going to be sufficient for the next year. But we need, hopefully, for the board moving forward to take a look at what the problems were in the past and make sure we can get as many of these reports done in 6 months. There are a number of legal reasons why, if there's litigation, that some of them are going to be delayed simply, and we have absolutely no way to move them forward. But we need to keep concentrating as much as we can, and the new board needs to make sure that we lay out a good plan for doing it and move forward. And I would apologize that, frankly, the board has, I think, failed to move forward as much as we had on some of these cases, but that is what it is. And for our remaining time, I hope we can produce as many of these things as we can. We close out those that need to be closed out. I notice we are using mediation more, which is something that for a long time was budgetary problems, but mediation can resolve hopefully a lot of these cases so they don't have to go through the full process. But hopefully with the new board and the staff that we have and the funding we have, we're going to be able to get these cases moved forward for what jurisdiction we have.
Member Turner.
Just quickly, let me clarify my statement some more, in more detail. The question you should be asking, has the staff been fully funded? Do they have 100%, support from the mayor? Do they have 100% support from the chief of police? Those are the questions you should be asking. And me personally, I can't come hard on no one, on no staff, no board, unless I can answer those 3 questions. And if there was a yes to all those 3, then I can be more, I can hold a staff and executive director to the fire. But if I know no full support from the mayor, not fully funded, no support from the chief of police, I got to have some grace in trying to hold people to the fire and just trying to speed this up. So I want to be just clear about that. And those are the questions. I said ask those tough questions. Those are the questions you should be asking. And then we can have another discussion about delay and denied.
All right. Member Beard and then Member Spencer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to clarify my comments, and I want to reiterate them because I think I was quite clear. I know I said in my comments that I did not know any reason as to why the cases were delayed. And it was not a criticism of anyone or anything. My comments were simply to say that it was a concern and that I'm here to help. So I do want to clarify that. If that was not taken that way, those were the 3 reasons that I made my comment.
Thank you.
I think on my end, I don't want to continue to extend this conversation too long, especially since we still have the public that would want to give comment potentially. But I do kind of want to, I feel, potentially round out this conversation in saying that for what we've talked about, I feel like this should be more of a rallying cry instead of, you know, kind of coming to terms with times past. I think from the inception, I think we've covered in different instances how this entire body, how this entire organization has been a kayak going up a giant, 1,000-foot waterfall because no one else in this government has ever liked the idea of us existing. No one has ever wanted to support us. People use us as political talking points when they want to say, we care about what the community thinks about public safety. But they don't, because we've come in here time and time again asking and at times demanding for the same basic resources and structures. We've done that year after year after year. I mean, when I first came on here, February of 2022, and then 3-4 months later, then we talk about subpoena power coming back into play. All of a sudden, after years of discussion, that should never have happened. If people actually cared, we would have had that squashed a long time ago. And so I want to say that, we don't operate in a vacuum. And yes, I think the true spirit of what's being said here is that, internally there's all sorts of ways that we could think of, how things could be better or things could be different. And at the same time, what the staff has done is tremendous. Because again, they're the ones that are pushing us up that 1,000-foot waterfall. They're the ones that are doing that kind of groundwork. And really, I feel like everyone here is truly dedicated to making sure that this work is as good as it is powerful, and helps people in the way that we understand that it should. And I just think for all the things that we have raised, I think collectively we also have to be looking at how this work grows, how this work develops, how this work becomes refined in the context of that we aren't in a vacuum, that we are part of one player in a larger system. And honestly, at the end of the day, we can talk about rules. We can talk about procedures, policies, all we want. And at the end of the day, at least from how I understand it, for community members, it comes down to what do we do? What can we do and what can we take upon, to actually get people that justice that they're talking about, to make certain consequences happen. And I think that's something that I think we're in consensus that we can all strive for in different ways. And I think because we're all unified, just even our stances around what this reconstitution can look like or should look like, and that it should be, we should have as much power as we still have. And honestly, I would love to say that we should gain even more investigative powers, because we should. Because I think for what the community wants, what the whole reasoning for this board and this organization being in existence for requires that. And I think for us in this moment, this should be a rallying cry for us as we still push forward to try to commit ourselves to that in however way possible. That there's been a lot of hard work that's been done. There's been a lot of things that we've had to overcome as an organization. Mm-hmm. And yet, we still got 2 more 1,000-foot waterfalls. And I think if we can stick together, we can really overcome them. And so I just kind of want to round that part of this conversation out.
All right. Thank you, Member Spencer. Time is of the essence, and so we are going to move forward. But I do want to thank you all for your passionate discussion regarding PRRs and where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And I think that's important to remember in the face of opposition. So it's not like we're facing this and it's a pie in the sky. We are doing all of this and have done it in the face of opposition from people who are in positions of power as we go out and represent the community as best as we can. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. I have my public comment here, and Callie Maxson is here for public comment. Okay. All right. Could you state your name, where the incident was located, and you have 4 minutes.
I stated my name, or I'm sorry, I stated the location of the incident last time. My name is Callie Maxson. You may recognize me from last month's meeting. I had filed a complaint. The board voted without any discussion. I really want to thank Mr. Goddard for his comments tonight. Very professional, honorable, and shows his integrity. Unfortunately, what we listened to after that was a lot of excuses, blaming other people, blaming other entities. The board voted against my complaint at the last meeting without any discussion. I had to file a petition for reconsideration by June 1st, and I did. They had a chance to change the past. When a petition for reconsideration is filed, the rules say the board chair would promptly decide whether to grant or deny the request. How many days is promptly? I would think that if I am allowed only 10 days to file the petition, then promptly would be 10 days for the board to accept or deny my petition. Today, June 26th, I received an email at 3:45 p.m. saying my petition has been denied, 25 days after it was filed. Do you think it is coincidental that I was notified of this less than 2 hours before this meeting? And now they're telling me the 60-day appeals period began on May 22nd, 35 days ago. So now I do not have 60 days to appeal to the Chancery Court. I only have 25 days. And they said I should consult with an attorney. Ms. Haddock requested the materials from Mr. Yoon about my case at the last meeting on May 22nd, 35 days ago. When I called MPD for service, they made my situation worse. They catered to the offender, and this board and staff has not shown that they even care. This board and staff have not demonstrated they can function effectively or efficiently going forward. Does Metro Council and the residents of this city fully understand what they are getting into? The staff made it a point to include on the proposed resolution report the military service of one of the officers. I do not want to take away anything from his military service. But why was it mentioned on the PRR? It had nothing to do with this incident. Yet, I bet it garnered sympathy or empathy for the officer. And that's great. But why would the staff state the reason for a delay in interviewing an officer due to his military service? Yet the staff did not state on the report their own reason for a delay of more than 8 months between his interview and the issuance of the proposed resolution report. Many items were left out of the proposed resolution report. Like I said, I was only given 10 days to file a petition for reconsideration, and without being allowed access to these items. At the last meeting, Mr. Keeley stated 3 things that were not true. The body cam footage proves his statements were false. During the discussion, after the board voted and after my written statement was read by Mr. Keeley stated that the owner of the car came up with the officers to the road. This is not true. The officers walked to the road together, but the owner of the car did not come up to the road until 4 minutes later.
Ms. Maxson, you've reached your 4 minutes. Is that?
That's correct. All right, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And not hearing all of my comments.
Danita Davis. Get the microphone.
Turn it this way? Okay. I'm here for the incident that happened on June 1st for Delama Kashmir with the family. We drove 15 hours here today. We just buried him on Saturday. When we received the phone call, I received it on June 1st. I was devastated how the conversation went with the officer. Her name was Chaplain Brown, I think it was. I'm sorry, I'm kind of shaky still. And the evidence that they gave me, it didn't make no sense from what they're putting out on the news. And they told me that it started with my son's father putting a gun to a clerk head, and then it switched over. He was breaking into cars and all this stuff. And I really appreciate Miss Jill. She reached out to me. Well, I seen her on the news. That's how I got in contact with her. Basically on the news, they was defending the officer. They wasn't thinking about our family. We heard about this when we got the phone call. And 10 minutes later, we see this footage of my son's father getting shot out 15 or 20 times in the back. We didn't get no explanation from, the police station to this point. I've been calling and calling and calling. The only person has been calling me back is Jill. When we first came up here, when the incident happened on that Thursday, that Friday we was trying to get up here, the family was devastated. We didn't want to come up here on the weekend because I felt like everything was going to be closed, so I came that Monday. When we got up here, we had already notified them that we was coming up here as family so we can get his body and bring him back home. That didn't happen. Once we got up here, our funeral home had called up here to this funeral home. Everything was set. The examiner told us that they didn't have the body. We was like, okay. Then the funeral home down here had to call them, ask them, where's the body? They're like, we don't know where the body is. So I called them back. And they was like, and then another lady got on the phone, we got the body, but it's going to take up to 6-8 weeks because we're still waiting on evidence or something like that. So that's when Jill did. I called her. She said, reach back out to them because that's not fair. You guys came up here to get your family member. They need to be back home and buried. So we was a delay on burying our family member because they didn't want to release the body. The evidence that they told me that, we got body cam and all that there. But like she say, y'all haven't showed footage, all this, the real footage body cam. It's so much missing out of this, and that's what we're devastated as family. Because the person that they are saying on the news, that's not him. He came up here a year ago. He was working 2 jobs. He just told my son that he was going to come up here for the summer. You know what my son told me? When he had to see this on the news. And his friends calling him, telling him, your dad just got killed, and da-da-da. And me having to break this to my 13-year-old. And it was devastating to me. And like I say, and then on the news, they're telling, I got happy because I'm like, okay, they're saying that they're going to conversate the family and they're going to get them up here. And then I told my daughter, I'm like, okay, they're going to conversate. They turned around, the police department say, oh no, it's Officer Cobb, your family members. We can fly you guys in and we can help you. But they didn't say nothing about our family. And it's been so hard. We've been coming up here trying to get answer. I guess his name is Deputy Chandler. I spoke with him. We was asking for evidence like where's clothes, where's stuff, where this. Nothing. The top of that, even when him getting shot, he got shot 15 times in the back. And when Officer Davis called me, he kind of giggled when I asked him how many times. He said, a lot of times, like 15.
Miss Davis, Delama Casimir?
Yes.
Is this your son?
Yes.
Okay, I see his name is on here. Would you like to both share your experience, or you can speak on behalf of him?
So the day on June 1st, when I got it, I broke down in tears, and I found out that he had died that day at 2:30. They called and said he died at 6:30, and it was 7 for us. So they said he died at 7:30, but called us at 6 and said he had died, and I was devastated that happened because he said he was coming down here for the summer and we was gonna have fun, but that never happened. And I called him that morning, and he was all right.
So, we just drove up here 15 hours. And when we leave here, we're getting back on the road. But I made sure I came to this meeting today. I was so tired. I'm so tired. I haven't slept. My family haven't slept. And we've been calling Chandler to get in for to sit down even with them, but we can't. We have to go back to our home. If we was here, we can protest, we can do more. But, you know, I'm so happy that she did reach out to, you know, us. And she, even when we got up here, we didn't know where to go. We didn't know nothing. The police, they were sending us around the world. She even, Jill even asked us, like, we didn't have nowhere to stay. She even made phone calls for us to get a hotel or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's been very hard for our family, and it's just a part of them just shooting him like that. And we couldn't, the body was, they shot him up so bad, some of his limbs was missing. They shot his ear off. They did all these, and it's all in his back. And then also, we looking at it with, if you guys shot him, when did y'all have time to beat him? We went and viewed his body when we came down here. He had 2 big knots here. His eye was swollen. I called Dr. Chandler and I asked him about it. He said he wasn't aware of that. He seen him in the examiner room, and he told me to send the pictures over that we have. I said, you should have your own pictures. You viewed the body before we got up here. Mm-hmm. And I haven't heard back from him to this day.
All right.
And we just want justice. That's all we want. We never expect this to happen. And for Delama, the type of person, even went to his jobs up here, they was talking so high. His manager even said, she said she didn't even watch the news. She said that's not the person who was working here for us. So that's why we came out today for you guys to help us with this matter here, because we don't know nobody up here.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis and Delama the second. Thank you for coming, and thank you for having the courage to speak, okay? Okay.
Thank you, guys.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
too, as well.
Stephanie Church.
My name is Stephanie Church. I live here in Nashville since the late 90s. I met Delama at work, kind of the beginning of January. I've only known him to be a really smart, creative person, very hardworking, very generous, talked about his family constantly. The reason he was here was so that he could better himself, so that he could do better for his family. That's just really all I want to say. I found out about his passing last Friday, Friday morning. Actually, it was very early Saturday morning I found out. And it's a travesty. The way they tried to make it look on the news, like, you know how they do, they pull up that criminal history and all that and dehumanize him, basically. Thank you so much. It was very hurtful to see that, because the man that I know was a very good human being, and he did not deserve what they did to him. And his family doesn't deserve to be without him. That's all I have to say. If there's anything y'all can do to make sure that this is looked at very, very well, because it doesn't make any sense. Even with the body cam footage that they released over the news, from what I've seen, like, there are holes and there are gaps and there are things that don't add up. And I'm just, please look into it, please. And that's all I really have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Church. Oliva Mira? Okay. Okay.
Bonjour, bonsoir. C'est Maman Dilama. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Moi-même, c'est Maman Dilama Kazini. But my son coming every day. My son coming, he got his 6 months. He coming to work every day. Why he coming to work? He call me every day. He tell him, Mommy, go to work. I say, my son, be careful. Why you go to work? You go to work, you go to your house. Why my son call me, he tell me, he work 2 jobs. He work 2 jobs. Every day he go to work. Every day night he come in, he call me. Why next Tuesday, I'm go to doctor because I've got the sugar. I see somebody call me. He say, Olivia, you sons, somebody he put a gun shot this Tennessee. I said, what? Why somebody tell me that? I said, my son died? She said, no, he not died. 5 minutes, somebody called me. She died. She died. Why he died? I say, because my son go to work over there. Why he go to work? He go to pay rent for me. He won't get money to pay my rent because I got a sugar. Every day I go to doctor. My son do everything for me. Anything my son come in over there, my son come in for that. He don't never teach somebody. Because I born my son, he don't never touch somebody, some people. My son go to school and they leave. Never touch somebody. You know, because I know somebody kill him, got too many shots because he got a shot over there. He got a 15 shot on the back. I say, okay, this police supposed to give me my son 4. Anytime you put a 4 on the foot, you put it on the foot. You put it on the back. 15, no good for me. No good, because I know my son, why he died. I know my son died, he go to cry. He cry. I know video, he cry, because I know that. I need, okay, you tell him my son go to this on this something car. Why you supposed to give me video? I need video. I don't got a video. I don't got a video of my son. You say teach something because I know you don't teach something good. No, I don't like that. There's too much for me. No good, because my son got a focus. If he focus, I don't work him. He got that one first. He got 3. 1, 2. 2 years. He got 3 years. 2 years.
Well, thank you, Miss Mira. We will take all of this. And
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. And thank you all for traveling from Florida to tell your story. Thank you. That concludes our public comment. We will now go on to our draft use of force policy advisory report update.
Sorry about that. Just feeling, I think, the emotion in the room and the importance of the work that we're all doing. I had always intended to keep my remarks brief here, and I'm actually going to keep them even briefer than I'd originally planned. As we discussed, yeah, I think I do. Thank you. As we discussed at the last board meeting, we have completed as a research team a draft of the use of force report, which you all were provided with last week. I'm not intending on presenting any content from that report this evening. That's just not where we are in our policy process. Well, while you all did receive that draft, and I do want all of your feedback, the point in the process where we are is where we solicit direct one-on-one board feedback over the course of the next month. If you have any feedback, please send it to me directly, but what I am looking for from all of you this evening is any board members who really want to have one-on-one individual meetings with me and with our research team over the next month to make this report stronger. This step was built into our policy process so that we make sure that when we release the first draft of our report to the public, it is as thorough and comprehensive and implementable as possible. So I ask, and I intended to go over the whole policy process, but I don't feel that's prudent right now. So for now, I just want to ask any board members who would be willing to really do a deep dive on this report with us, with the research team. You can make yourself known now, or you can reach out to me at any point over the next couple of days so we can get a plan going. We really want to have a first draft of this to you all next month, or a finalized draft to you all next month. And so we're really intending on hitting the ground running over the next couple of weeks, just making that report you've seen stronger, making the recommendations that we've made stronger. So if any of you would like, I see Sean's hand. Thank you, I appreciate that. I got 4 hands. For the record, I have Sean, Board Member Witzel, Board Member Goddard, Board Member Turner, and Board Member Wynn. Thank you all. I really appreciate that. Chair Haddock, make it 5. I had hoped for 2, so 5 is great. All the better. I'll take it upon myself then to reach out to all of you probably tomorrow and just get going and talk about next steps. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you. For the next item on our agenda, we're going to move, don't mean to do your job for you, Chair, but I'm going to invite up Dylan DePriest, who's our digital evidence and data technician, who was the lead on this report and will be reporting out for us.
All right, hello everyone. So today we'll be going over some of the preliminary data from MMPD's license plate reader pilot program. So if we go to the introduction, so MNPD has publicly published available data on their data dashboard for the first 3 months of the 6-month pilot program for license plate readers in Nashville. Using this data, MNCO has made a series of heat maps exploring what this LPR data looks like over 5 different categories across Nashville. Those categories are hits, vehicle stops, vehicle or driver searches, arrests, and vehicle recoveries. Each category was then mapped over base maps that represent the racial and economic makeup of Nashville. And then finally, MNCO has compared the LPR data to MNPD's vehicle stop data, which is also publicly available data from their data dashboard. So to make this presentation easier to follow, we have some LPR terms that will be used throughout the presentation. LPRs stand for license plate readers, which are automatic cameras that capture license plates from vehicles as they're moving by, turns those pictures of license plates into letters and numbers that are then sent through law enforcement databases. If those license plates have a match in those databases, that will result in a hit, which I will talk about momentarily, and law enforcement will be notified. So, in terms of the law enforcement databases being used for license plate readers, the main one MNPD is using is the NCIC, or the National Crime Information Center. This is a national database that compiles local, state, federal, and tribal law enforcement data together alongside other law enforcement databases as well, such as the Sex Offender Registry, Silver Alerts, Amber Alerts, etc. So this compiles pretty much all of the relevant data that MNPD sends the license plate through in order to see if it has a hit. Next, the LPR program administrator is a command-level sworn officer position within MNPD who manages the license plate reader pilot program and the 10 other MNPD officers who have been trained and also sworn in to oversee the data of the LPR program. Next, we have a heat map. So a heat map is a two-dimensional map that measures the frequency of data over a geographic area. For these purposes, that area is Nashville and Davidson County. And finally, we have a base rate analysis, which is an analysis that factors in the broader rates of data when looking at specific rates of data within an investigative context. So I'll go over a little bit what that means specifically for this report later on in the report. But to make the short of it, the broad data that we are looking at within MNPD is their general vehicle stop data, and the specific data is their LPR vehicle stop data. And I'll, of course, talk more about that later. And then our next slide shows the 5 different LPR categories that we will be exploring through this data. The first is total hits. So you may notice that there are 2 different hits in this list and 6 points instead of 5. So the one we are not actually looking at is this first one, total hits. So I want to talk a little bit about what that means compared to the following item, which is verified hits. So total hits are all the license plate or reader hits that these license plate readers have read. So anything that has pinged a match with the NCIC database is considered a total hit. However, not every total hit is a valid or verified hit, which leads us into the next one, and that's the one we're actually measuring, which is verified hits. So verified hits are total hits that at least 2 MNPD officers and the LPR program administrator have personally looked at and verified that this is a credible hit that matches something that they are looking at in the NCIC database. So that's pretty much the main difference between a total hit and a verified hit. The next 4 categories, vehicle stops, driver or vehicle searches, arrests, and vehicle recoveries, sound pretty much like what they are displaying, except compared to general versions of these within MNPD, these are, of course, vehicle stops and et cetera that were the direct result of a verified LPR hit. So next we'll talk about the preliminary data. Over the first 3 months of the pilot program, there have been 733 verified hits, which have led to 57 vehicle stops, 49 driver or vehicle searches, 47 arrests, and 55 vehicle recoveries. Within this data, we have found that a disproportionate amount of the LPR hits have taken place in Quadrant A. Quadrant A represents parts of North Nashville, East Nashville, and Madison. Out of 733 total hits, 340, or roughly 46.38%, have all taken place in this one quadrant, Quadrant A. However, within Quadrant A, there's still disparity of data. The LPRs at the Dickerson Pike and Trinity Lane site and the LPRs at the Gallatin Pike and Old Hickory Boulevard site have 90 and 82 hits respectively, compared to an average of only about 40 hits across the other 4 sites within Quadrant A. So if we go here, this is our first heat map, which shows the LPR verified hits over Nashville. And as you can see, while the LPRs are concentrated in these 4 different quadrants denoted by their color in the legend, the vast majority of LPR activity is taking place in this Quadrant A up in the north part of Nashville. Let's see. And then if we go to the next slide, some other noteworthy trends. Quadrant A, beyond just hits, accounts for 73.68% of all vehicle stops, 75.51% of all driver or vehicle searches, 76.09% of all arrests, and 72.73% of all vehicle recoveries. So even amongst these further categories, Quadrant A is vastly overrepresented. However, an interesting trend was that even within Quadrant A, the sites that had the highest values of hits did not have the highest values of the other 4 categories as well. This was interesting because across the other 3 quadrants, while they had much less data to work with, those were pretty consistent with the sites having the most hits also having the highest across the other categories as well. So that was just another interesting trend we noted. And so now, these are going to be the base maps we're looking at to examine race and poverty in Nashville and how LPR data exists in tandem with that. So this blue map over here represents the poverty percentage of census tracts within Nashville and Davidson County. And this orange map over here represents the non-white component of residents within census tracts in Nashville and Davidson County. So here you can see, once we actually map the activity of the LPR data on these maps that represent race and poverty, you can see that the activity that there is tends to follow where there are low-income census tracts and high percentages of non-white residents in census tracts. And so when we look at these following maps, that measure, this one measures vehicle stops. And Gracie, if you want to hit the next one. This one measures driver or vehicle searches. And then Gracie, if you want to hit the next one too. And this one measures arrests. These heat maps all follow that same trajectory of an overabundance of data and activity in Quadrant A, with the other sparse activity following these same trends as the hit heat maps over the race and poverty base maps. And finally, vehicle recoveries shows this trend even more starkly, where you can see a concentration of vehicle recoveries in this north quadrant, Quadrant A, with less activity in any of the other quadrants as well. So MNPD also, like I mentioned before, has a separate general vehicle stops dashboard, which includes MNPD officers pulling individuals over for things like traffic violations, vehicle violations, investigations, regulations, inspections, safety, and pretty much any other category of police stop and pullover that you can imagine. And given LPR's inherent relationship to vehicles and MNPD's legal requirement to distribute LPRs equitably around the city, we map the relationship between LPR placement and data activity against MNPD's general vehicle stops for the past 3 months to see what that relationship might look like. Once we did that, we found that mapping MNPD's vehicle stops against the LPR vehicle stops displayed two very different patterns. MNPD's overall vehicle stops distribution is pretty even throughout the city, with concentrations highest in the center of the city and then extending north, south, east, and west consistently along major roadways. And then if we go to the next one. However, the LPR heat map distributions do not have the same high density in the areas where MNPD's vehicle stops have the highest density. The LPR vehicle maps were the general vehicle stops. The LPR maps where MNPD vehicle stops have the highest concentration are relatively sparse. And when we look at the maps, West Nashville will highlight this disparity the most. Whereas the LPR vehicle stops, where they have the highest density and most activity, there are relatively few MNPD vehicle stops for how high the density is in those areas. There does not appear to be a strong relationship between where MNPD stops vehicles altogether as compared to LPR-initiated stops. This could be due to the low raw number of LPR-driven vehicle stops that we have so far to really examine and explore, but this is likely not the complete answer. So if we go to the maps now, you can see these white dots are where MNPD general vehicle stops have taken place over the last 3 months. Again, they're concentrated pretty much in that center downtown hub and extend along major roadways east, north, west, and south of the city. However, in the area with the highest concentration of LPR activity in that quadrant A, there are relatively fewer MNPD vehicle stops than in some of the other parts of the city where, again, there are very little LPR activity. And then this is that same map, but overlaid against the race and poverty-based maps of Nashville. So with general vehicle stops, they tend to be equitably distributed despite where there are high numbers of non-white or low-income residents, where again, the LPR activity seems to be concentrated in those areas. So in conclusion, MNPD has stated that LPRs would be equitably distributed, but the location of the LPRs seem to be in the areas that have the highest level of, and the areas that seem to have the highest level of law enforcement outcomes are overwhelmingly in non-white and low-income areas, with Quadrant A being disproportionately overrepresented across all 5 LPR enforcement categories. Comparatively, MNPD vehicle stops appear to be evenly distributed throughout the city, even when looking at race and class. Further base rate analysis will determine if LPR usage is statistically higher in minority and impoverished areas than other forms of policing. And then for further review, MNCO has received comprehensive private LPR data from the 10-day stretch of May the 7th, 2023 to May the 17th, 2023. From that period, there have been over 3.5 million total LPR scans that have led to 1,448 total hits with a rate of 0.04% across all scans. There is an abundance of rich data present in this database that will be explored in future reports. But with that, does anyone have any questions? I know that was a lot of information.
That was great. That was some very good information. And board members, do you have any comments or would like to discuss? Member Wynn.
It's a very good report. 733 total hits with 57 stops seems kind of low, but those hits have moved on, so they're not able to find the suspect vehicle. Is that what they're saying? Why they're so low?
Yes, so unfortunately, since this is from the publicly available data, we don't have quite the breadth of information we'd like on each stop, So that is certainly a likely explanation, but unfortunately, we can really only speculate on why those numbers might be that way.
So you need more data to determine whether there's any discrimination of distribution of the cameras?
Yes, and so we have received recently more of that comprehensive private data from MNPD that has a lot more depth to that data. So hopefully that's an answer we'll be able to explore more within that private 10-day stretch of data.
So then the comparable cities that have been using the technology for 10 years or more, it's that old, who are you looking at?
Yeah, so we're looking at comparative cities like Louisville, Atlanta, primarily focusing on, mid-sized urban southern cities.
Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I flagged Louisville for you.
Oh, thank you.
They just were subject of a civil rights investigation and a finding. So just to let you know, if you didn't know that.
Yes, the Department of Justice report for Louisville is definitely an interesting one for sure. But yes, it's not the only city we'll be looking at, but yeah, of course that'll be in consideration too for when we are looking at similar cities.
Thank you.
Member Goddard.
Two quick questions. First one may be fairly dumb. Are these all fixed LPRs or do we have some in cars yet?
Great question. So all this data is from fixed LPRs.
Okay.
Yes, but there are LPRs that are being used on squad cars as well.
Right. Okay. Second question. There's I believe in place, a fairly strict data retention policy for MNPD. Are we, when we get these chunks of data, are we subject to that, or is it depersonalized, if that's a word, or do we have any issues keeping data for a while we look at it?
So no. So we can, as long as the data is depersonalized, that was the exact right word, we can keep it to analyze. However, we are subject to the same limitations that MNPD is as well when it comes to this data, in the sense that the reason why the private data we have is from just a 10-day stretch is because that was all that MNPD could realistically pull for us without breaking their own guidelines, if that makes sense.
It does, and they'll have to let go of that data after the 10 days. We won't once we get it. Is that right? We can hang on to that data?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional?
Questions, I just wanted to say.
Okay.
So I wanted to thank Dylan DePriest for doing this really great report and giving us an update on what is happening with the LPR pilot program. I say that to say that it's important. The community spent about 2 years really talking about license plate readers. Even our board brought experts in to talk about the pros and cons of license plate readers. And I think that we had a really robust conversation within the council too. And so this work is important for the community to know what is happening with license plate readers, how they're being handled, the effect that they have on our communities, especially those communities that are marginalized and impoverished. And so I thank you for this report. We're going to get it released to the public, but excellent work, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
It's really good work. Dylan, so I want you to, just for a moment, tell us, so here's the thing, and I want to reiterate from Director Fisher, we know the importance of this data, right? I think we can all agree. Remember when you alluded to how, we are to really pay attention to LPR data and what you put in front of us. I would like for you to explain in layman's terms what the low numbers for MMPD traffic stops mean, if you will, if we're just looking at this and reading it versus LPRs and their location and the number of hits. Can you explain that to just your ordinary average person?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we can really, with the publicly available data, only speculate and just show general trends. But I can talk about the reason why we wanted to put those two relationships together. And I think the main reason behind that was when you look at a certain subset of data, it can definitely paint you a picture that exists in that vacuum. But, you know, LPRs are just one aspect of MNPD as a whole, and a program they're rolling out, you know, relatively recently. So looking at general stoppage data seemed to be the best way we could fairly compare to this new program compared to something they have been doing and working on for quite a while. So I think in short term, the reason why we wanted to look at that data was kind of to paint a better picture of what LPR data looks like kind of in the grand scheme of MNPD. And in terms of the relatively low number of stops compared to the general amount of MNPD vehicle stops, I would say that is still, you know, due to the newness of the program and the data we're receiving compared to something that, you know, has been an established part of policing for quite a while. I'm sure everyone is, you know, whether you're very involved with law enforcement or just a general citizen of Nashville, everyone is familiar with being pulled over. So it seemed like a good comparison we could also make that folks would, you know, be able to understand the data more in their own shoes.
All right. Director Fisher?
Could you tell us a little bit about the placement of the license plate readers? Are they placed equitably throughout Nashville?
Well, if we go back to the, let's go back to the first heat map. Yeah, this verified hits one. Actually, let's scratch that. Let's go to the one where it's over the poverty and racial based maps. So in terms of where these LPRs are located, the goal was to distribute them equitably throughout the city, and they have so far been placed 6 in each quadrant that MNPD has created, one for the north part of Nashville, one for the east part, the south, and the west part. But within those kind of large, wide geographic swaths, we can see that where LPRs tend to be placed tend to be low income and high non-white resident areas.
Thank you.
Before this was put in effect, my constituents predicted this would happen. You would put it in the 37208 district, which is supposedly one of the highest crime rate in Davidson County. But crime exists in Davidson County. It doesn't make any difference whether it's Green Hill, Bellmead, or what. But we got to give Davidson County, the whole entire county, attention, you know. But like I said, I sit with a group of elderly retirees, and that was their prediction. And they said, you watch, you'll see. See, you on the board, you'll see what happened. And they didn't lie. And another thing, we're talking about the traffic stops, and I've said this time and time again, you cannot police this city with this almost a similar number of officers you had 10 years ago before I retired. You know, they did a study that shows that Davidson County, compared to other cities, having 2,500, 3,000 officers, and we still dealing with less than 2,000 officers. You know, they said we have a large number, but we have not. We did a study on it. And, you know, one time we looking at, almost 1,300, 1,500, somewhere in that area, like that, almost 1,400. But when you start building other precincts and trying to staff that precinct, you know, it's a shortage of manpower, and then they make the response a little shorter, you know, so personnel has a lot to do with it.
Thank you, Member Holloway. Member Nguyen, and then Member Turner.
Yeah, one quick question, Director Fincher. The data from the police department's arrests, let's just say how many arrests? 47 arrests. Every arrest has an arrest report. Every arrest report has gender and has race. Is that data not available to the Oversight Board?
Yeah, that data is available.
Okay. So then the corresponding complaint numbers would be in the computer-aided dispatch. So if computer-aided dispatch is flagging a hit from this system, then the computer-aided dispatch computer director can do a run and give you a number on how many arrests, and they may not be able to do the qualitative information like from the arrest report itself, but they can tell you where the stop was made and how many officers were on the call, the return disposition of the call, and if this arrest was made or not. Is that an area that you're looking at?
That is. So that's actually a great point you brought up. With the data that we specifically requested from MNPD, that was one of the things we made sure that was included with the data, is that we'd have the incident reports for any arrest that was made from the LPR data. So for those arrests that were made within that 10-day stretch of May the 7th to May the 17th, we'll have all of that corresponding data.
Was there any data that MNPD, that you requested that MNPD did not give you?
So far, no. It looks like from a brief analysis of the data that all of the data we requested and met with the LPR program administrator, Captain Stephen Duncan, about, we have received.
Okay, perfect.
Member Beard.
I just want to say this is a very excellent report, and what is our next steps? Do we share this with the police department? Do we do the second part of the analysis, the data that you just received before we share it? But what's the next steps?
That's a great question, and largely I think up for the board to discuss and talk about. But at least in terms of the research team, we are actively starting that next part on the further review with that private data we have. And I will also cede to Gavin.
Yeah, just for context, in the past, what we've done with informational reports and what we'll do with this one is after this meeting, we'll just post that online so anyone can have access to this preliminary report. And we will continue working in the background on that sort of higher level, more in-depth analyses. And we're also working to kind of institutionalize. Dylan talked a lot about a 10-day period of data that we've received. We want to receive those more regularly so that we can do a bigger, deeper dive. But in terms of this will be online tomorrow morning, and we'll go on to the higher level stuff from there.
Thank you. Do we actually give a report directly to the chief of police?
We email those, but he gets a copy, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Member Spencer.
Thank y'all again for this wonderful report. I think I more so just have a curiosity, perhaps. I would like to, hear a little bit more about about what we currently have here and what we'll keep working on in context following the Driving While Black report. I think for the community, some of the concerns have been brought up that seem to be validated, as Member Holloway was also saying. The Driving While Black report did a similar kind of effect. And I think that for the context, the wider context of what we were talking about when the legislation was going through council, I think it would be really interesting and, again, very affirming to have this report kind of also really follow along in the context of what has changed since that report.
Yeah, that's a really great point, and we did have the Driving While Black report in mind while we were working on this, so it's well taken. I think one of the important after effects of the Driving While Black report is that vehicle stops in general vastly decreased, and the disparities in those vehicle stops also vastly decreased. So it seemed like in terms of, from an equity perspective, vehicle stops were getting better. This is sort of a troubling sign in the opposite direction from that. And of course, they're very low raw numbers. We're in the hundreds of stops. And so At this point, it's kind of impossible for us to say causally that that's happening, but point well taken that we are thinking about LPRs as a tool in terms of discriminatory vehicle stops.
This is a comment, maybe a question, but I'm looking at, so we got and I'm glad you brought up the Driving While Black report. I think we need to put this one alongside the use of force, alongside this LPR, and kind of see the trends of the community. I kind of know, looking at it, where the trends are as far as over-policing and those types of issues that we've been talking about really since the Driving While Black report came out, and I hope that the city, or we can do a report also. I don't know if we can, if you all can do something and look at a map, an asset map of the resources or the lack thereof in these areas. And I hope the city really takes that and maybe we can, on a one-on-one, I have that discussion to kind of do another heat map around resources and nonprofits and those types of things with these areas that are being over-policed. We've seen all of these LPR hits. And I hope the city really takes this not as, to kind of look at this data and look at it and say, where do we need a smart mayor, a smart city, would say, where do I put the resources? And also a charge to the police to say, okay, you're talking about community policing. You're talking about we're going to bring back boxing and basketball camps and all of this from the police. Where are you putting your resources around these big press conferences you're having around doing community policing? So you say, what have you done in these areas that are getting highly hit over police? What are you doing around your community police? I think there's several issues. I appreciate the report. Always commend you both on it, but I think we can also take a deeper dive into people who are running, people who are in the council, the mayor, whoever the next mayor will be in the future. Can really look at this and say, what can we do around these areas to really do this and charge to put some resources in and see where the lack thereof and see if there's some type of correlation. If you're not putting resources in these particular areas that you're over-policing or you're not doing any community policing that you say you are, then you have these particular outcomes and hits. But I think we can really use this data to really do some good work and charge the city to put some good resources in these areas that are have these hits.
All right. Member Spencer?
I think to where your line of thought is going wants me to also kind of question, so around, I guess, what is the definition of poverty that we're using? And I think something additionally I think might be worthwhile including in this would be around sort of the intersection of where this is happening along transit lines, of also around food deserts as well. I think when we're talking about poverty, and I think when we're talking about where you're getting into, you also have to look at some of the more material conditions that are happening in that area. So I think those would be really interesting to see overlapped on this as well. And I would be really curious to see what happens with that.
All right. Thank you. This was great. You guys did a great job again. And I really would like to encourage everyone to take a look at this report that will be on the MNCO's website. Is it? Oh, no. All right. And just because, it says here quadrant A alone accounts for 340 out of 733 total LPR hits. And that's almost 50%. So as we, Nashville, as we look forward to what LPRs will look like and feel like in Nashville, I think it will serve us well to review this report and discuss it and talk about how we should probably go further with it as data becomes more readily available and as we request it from MNPD. Thank you. All right. So we are running short on time, but we have a few more agenda items. FY24 budget. Director Fitchett.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot to say.
Okay.
but I did want to just touch base that the council passed the budget. And so we were fully funded. I appreciate the council for that, and those that worked hard with trying to get the budgets passed. And so our budget was reduced by $139,300, which is it's really our lease agreement overage for the year. It was transferred to an administrative account. So because we're looking to relocate, and so that monies will be there, and will be distributed through the property director. And so with that, our budget, we were fully funded for the $2.17 million that we asked for. We did not get any new positions, but we did get the same budget that we had in the last fiscal year, 23. That also gave us the full 15 total budgeted positions.
All right. And that passed last week in council, correct?
Correct. Last
All right.
Tuesday, we were there
Last
to
Tuesday.
midnight.
Yes, we were. Okay, any discussion? All right. New business.
New business,
Attorney.
we wanted to introduce Mr. Attorney Brazil and
Sarah Mansfield.
Sarah
All right.
Mansfield. Okay.
They are from the law firm of Brazil Clark. They've done such class action lawsuits as Candy Crush, which was Rutherford County District Attorney who used to work here, doctoring, manufacturing evidence in order to go after legitimate businesses. They were also part of a class action lawsuit involving Rutherford County again. Juvenile court caging children unlawfully for years. So I've done two stupid things and two brilliant things in my time here that can't be disputed, and that is, one, recommending hiring Tricia Hertzfeld and the brilliant job she's done, but my second being the hiring of Brazil Clark. What's stupid about it is that they're better than I am, and when you all see that, you're going to wonder why you hired me in the first place. But again, I'm going to be going on paternity leave soon because I'm having a second child. Yes, I have pictures. I'll be happy to show them to you. But again, couldn't ask for better. Civil rights, criminal defense, the type of legal expertise that needs to be part of this PRR process, that you can't ask for better in Nashville.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Young. Welcome. Welcome. Please feel free to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, your history here and what we have to look forward to.
I'm Sarah Mansfield. I'm one of the senior associates at Brazil Clark, just helping along do criminal defense and then also work on their civil rights cases. Just really excited and honored for the opportunity to help out and lend a voice to the community. So, just thank you.
And thank you, Alicia and Daniel and everyone. And as we settle in, please call on us to assist in any way that we can. And as our role in this becomes more clear, use us in whatever way you see fit. I'm honored to be a part of something that I think, as a native Nashvilleian, has made us a lot better. And I hope, it's my hope, through this uncertain stuff we're seeing from the state legislator in this transition that is coming, that the spirit of what's happening here is preserved in some meaningful way for the next chapter. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. So you are a native. No wonder you look familiar. There's only a few of us left here.
That's right. Born and raised.
Me too. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you.
We'll see you at the next meeting.
All right, Daniel, we promise to remember who brought you here. Don't worry.
Yes, we will. We will. Any announcements other than our new attorneys that will come and help us? Nothing? Member Wynn.
I just had, and forgive me for being late, traffic was exceptional today. I did have one question for Director Pitcher, and if you can't tell me, that's fine. What is the Oversight Board doing for this grieving family we just heard from?
We haven't been able to do much. They just came today. We've sat down with them. They've met with me and Dave for hours when they first came the first time. They just had the services for Mr. Casimir on Saturday. And I wasn't anticipating them coming today, but she said she really wanted to be here. And so we haven't really had a discussion about what they need additional. I was going to talk to them today, but she has, she stays in contact with me, and I've been in contact with her. Of course, as I've explained to everyone here, it's still an open case.
Right.
And we're still getting new information, and discovering information. But I am just making certain that we are making ourselves available to this family.
I've delivered a lot of death notices as a homicide investigator.
Yeah.
And none of it's easy. And the family members are, they're not volunteering for any of this. So I'm glad that we're able to help them in any way we can. To set aside the criminal investigation of what happened, they need a shoulder, and I hope that you can provide it for them.
Because they live in Florida, what we can do is a little limited in that regard. But I'm going to speak with them to see if they are getting some grieving services and things there. And if we can facilitate that for them, we will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Nguyen. I can attest as a witness to the level of care that they have already received by Director Fitcher, because it has been a topic of discussion. And so this is some difficult work. And I think, as we move forward and really thinking about what the Community Oversight Board will be, what the reconstitution is, and what that will look like, we still have to remember that regardless if we are investigating or not, we're here for families like Mr. Casimir. We're here for people who feel like justice is far away from them. And so I hope that's the spirit that we keep. The state legislature may try to take everything away from us, but they cannot take our voices. They can't take away these seats that we have in front of us for people to voice how they feel and how they have their experience with MMPD. And so thank you for coming. And I would like, did you want to say something, Member? If there is nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Yeah. Y'all ready to go? Okay. All right. We are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.